Welcome to our 2022 Teaching Tuesdays. This time, we're going to do something different. We are going to explore how to think. Because I have discovered that students who are battling with writing their thesis, their proposals, their dissertations, the problem is actually not writing, it's thinking. Because remember, what you've written is what you've thought about. So in the next couple of sessions, I'm just going to explore with you what needs to be done to build the capacity to think. Because if you build the capacity to think, you're going to write lucidly, clearly, and eloquently. The first thing I want to talk about is building your linguistic capabilities. So for today, I'm going to talk about that. And the second thing I'm going to talk about today is building your visual capabilities. Why? It is because when you are thinking using a particular language. If you are Zulu, ucinga ngesiZulu. If you are Xhosa, ucinga ngesiXhosa. So it is so important when you are reading material, research material, scholarly papers, reflect a little bit and say, athini ngesiXhosa abantu babhale le ncwadi. Because if you do not break it down and interpret it in your own language, you will be perpetually lost in other people's writings. Why is this important to build? Why is it important to build linguistic capability? It is because language is really related to culture. Your thinking is based on the language you use for thinking. For example, if you look at our ancient ancestors, they got meaning, or rather they interpreted the world we live in according to seasons. They understood time in terms of the season for planting, the season for harvesting, the season for the winter season. So if you are still aligned to those cultural ways of expressing yourself, you will find that the metaphors related to season, to the timing of doing things, will assist you in thinking. Another example, I would say cultures that came to Africa or to different continents to colonize, they used compasses, and therefore their linguistic capabilities are aligned to north-west, south. And yet you and I might not really be adverse to such ways of understanding the spaces. So that is the first area of building your thinking capability, is to build your linguistic capabilities. So you might say, but I have to write in English. The mode of language for most universities in South Africa is English. I am not disputing that. I am just saying that build your own capabilities. If you are able to think in English, you can write in English easily. So reflect. I am inviting you to reflect on which language do you think in? Which language do you dream in when you're completely unconscious of your physical presence? Because that is the language you must use for thinking. And that is the language you must write from. And therefore, your writing should be peppered with a bit of your own culture, should be peppered with a bit of your own being. I just want to leave it there, and it will be very interesting to hear what you came up with when you explored building your linguistic capabilities. The second concept for you to be able to write eloquently is building your visual capabilities. Someone might say, what does visual capability, What does that have to do with writing? It has a lot to do with thinking. Remember, the premise here of our discussion is that you cannot write before you think. You have to learn how to think in order to write authentically, eloquently, lucidly. So, to give you an illustration and to stay with the culture, with our ancient cultures, in my culture, for example, our ancestors spent a whole lot of their time with their eyes in the heavens. They knew how to understand the language the stars was telling them. They knew the time on the basis of the position of the stars. They could predict the weather. They could predict calamities just by gazing the sky. Now, what do we do? What has a contemporary culture taught us? Contemporary culture has taken our eyes away from the stars to the screens. So we are narrowing our focus on the screens that we have. We are consciously or unconsciously losing our visual capability. So if you're a researcher, remember you need to be able to observe. Some of the research methodologies require you to be an observer. For example, if you are looking at ethnographic research, observational research, qualitative research, you are not just collecting words there. You're looking at people's reactions, people's behaviors. And if you're not training yourself to pick up those nuances just by using your visual capacities, of course, you have to monitor how much time you spend on the screen compared to other activities. So I'm inviting you to do something to build your visual capabilities. It is not a coincidence that curriculum in the olden days included art. It included things that you had to do with your eyes because you are building your visual intelligence, which is related to your thinking, which is required for you to write eloquently. So I just want to leave you there for now, and hopefully you'll stay with us and discover other intelligences you have to build in order to write lucidly, eloquently, and articulate yourself authentically. Thank you and goodbye.